This episode of Unicorn Dog Shadow Pup is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/Gamebreaker. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 24 of Unicorn Duck Shadow Puppet, the WildStar show right here on Gamebreaker TV. I'm Garrett again, and coming up on today's show, big news is on the way. Beta is almost here again, and Shiphands live. All that and more, but first, you know him, you love him, Mr. Farhan Siddiqui. How are you, sir?
Hello, I'm doing well. We're in the calm before the storm.
Calm before the shit? Is that what you're gonna? It's the calm before the shit.
It's getting there. It's getting smooth.
The shit's gonna hit the fan, Gannon. It's coming.
Yeah.
We are.
There we go.
Mark Taylor also joining us. How are you, sir?
What's going on? Gildorp in the house. What's up?
It is. We are in the home stretch and getting ready for it. So it is pretty apparent that the WildStar, the Carbine team are getting ready to gear up the marketing and the PR and the hype and the information and the live streams. There's so much going on. So it's getting exciting. I think he's got to take a little sip of his brew just for the boys. There you go.
I have to calm myself down before I'm ready to get my theory crafting hat on with.
Nah, you're supposed to drink like 4 Red Bulls and come on the show. You don't mellow out.
Well, after this past week, you know how I do.
I know how he does. All right, so yes, we're into the home stretch. Things are about to heat up for you WildStar fans. So Carbine put out this long, big, huge blog post last week talking about beta, what's going to come in the near future. They actually admitted, which I thought was interesting, they actually admitted that it was kind of a rough few weeks for fans of WildStar. The past few weeks, there hasn't been really too much juicy info, but they're pretty ready to go big or go home. Hashtag, do you believe, Mark Taylor?
You know, I actually do, and just the very fact that they would address the concerns of the community about, like, hey, WTF, we really haven't seen anything, since the last big con, and that's normal for there to be like a dip, but it's been almost like, nothing. So I'm just kind of happy that, yes, they addressed it. Yes, that they know that there's, not as much information, but I'm even more excited for the fact that, we now know when beta is, and God, hopefully we'll all get in, right? But we also know that they're going to be doing live streams at regular intervals, and that they're going to actually be re-releasing the information about what they've already done. So, now we can just be totally prefaced to actually get information at regular intervals. Now, how much information we get at the time, that's going to depend, but they've at least committed to the fact that they know that we're starved for info.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been stretching it thin, trying to figure out some really interesting stuff to talk about.
Week to week, we're like, man, what are we going to talk about on this damn show? And I'm like, Farhan, you bring charts. Just bring charts. Do math. We're good.
Theory items. Yes.
I gotta commend. I really enjoyed last episode of getting that deep. So bring it on. I like learning stuff on this show. I'm the nub over here. So anytime you guys can teach me a thing or two, I'm happy. But yes, I mean, I think this is also what this really says is the team must be in a really good place at this point, right? They must have. I think it's pretty apparent from the outside. It looks like they maybe hit a little bit of a bump in the road, right? They kind of went back and they decided to change a lot of stuff, and they're pretty open about going back. And I think that's a point that they like kind of unofficially or officially closed beta for a while and things like that, and they need to revamp some stuff. But hearing this news about them going big or going home, I mean, it sounds like the team's in a really good position. I'm totally tinfoil hatting it, saying that they're probably going to guess that they're probably on track, that they're tracking for their launch at this point, or you wouldn't see this kind of openness, I think, from the team and how they are sort of, just saying, hey, we're gonna push forward on this. So they were going for that 2013 release. You keep moving your camera. I just fixed your camera. What are you doing? I just fixed it. Now you fixed it again.
There
you go. Thank you. Camera operator.
So does that mean in your mind, and I hope I'm not getting off track, does that mean in your mind that they met some critical success factor or criteria
I
within
say yes.
their critical double
A
secret
milestone.
probation beta?
Some sort of milestone had to have been met. They must have revamped some stuff, hit something, and it's moving forward. Don't you agree? I mean, you know how these things work. You're in Guild Umbra.
Hell yeah.
It's got to be something like that because we know from the most recent post where they're talking about the upcoming live stream that's going to happen like this coming Saturday. So we know that they have said that the build that they're going to be using in the December beta, the one that's coming up, is greenlit for that live stream, and this is the first time that we're going to be able to see that thing. So clearly, they're good to go. Like a month in advance, they're getting this build out there in front of us. So it's going to be pretty stable. I'm thinking it's like they're like, okay, we hit this point. We know that this build is stable. We know that it's good. We've got some of the big changes that we were aiming for into this build. So let's start showing it off. That way we can like get ahead of any sort of leaks, any kind of other stuff, and get this big marketing push and control the way that the information's coming out there right before the actual build comes out with the beta.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody remembers here, but you remember, think back, they were going for that 2013 release. They weren't ready. They pushed it back. I'm sure that completely affected marketing and PR and everything that they had sort of in place for that. Scaled all that stuff back, on hold, gotta wait. And we said it back then. It's a good thing. How many MMOs have launched, too early, not done, with problems, beta testers telling them that there's problems, they don't listen, they just go out and put it out, and then the game absolutely fails. So,
and it wasn't like they just pushed it back like 5-6 months, because that's normally the duration you normally see. Effectively, they pushed it back an entire calendar year, because I think they announced it right before E3. So when they say spring 2014, I'm like I've said it before, I'm assuming it is exactly the last day of spring, like the day right before summer. So, I mean, they effectively gained an entire year that gave them a chance to maybe relieve stress. So I guarantee you, any of the coders that they had and any of the QA folks that they had, that relieved a large amount of stress on what it is that they had to do. And when you don't have that much stress, and not to get into psych and stuff, 101, but when you don't have the stress of like, I got to get this baby birthed in the next 2 months, and you have a year, you can relax, you can code more efficiently, and I guarantee you, just the ability to relax and go to work knowing that they have some time allowed them to probably code better, allowed them to probably QA better, allowed them to probably come up with systems that are more innovative. It just gave them a chance to work in a more relaxing environment. And as dumb as that sounds, that's just the very basics of being able to to work at a professional level to provide a much better product. And so now I think we're seeing almost the opposite of that. I think that given that, relaxation and the ability to focus, that they were probably so efficient and probably so motivated that now they're at that point where they're like, hey, we're back ahead of the curve. We're no longer behind the 8 ball, because just like you said, they're grabbing the short and curlies and they're going for it, saying, hey, we're going to re-release, introducing you to the classes. We're going to do it every week for the next 6 weeks. We're going to
which is crazy, right? It's like like they're almost starting over with some of this PR to like re-educate people. And I'm sure that the part of the marketing here is to find new people, right? Like find people who have missed this stuff, because it's been a while since those class videos have been revealed. So according to Carbine, they're actually going to be re-revealing all the classes, correct? I mean, not just they got those two classes they just keep leaking, but
well, that, and they said that they've changed the classes or revised them. You know what I mean? So that's interesting. It's not like, okay, here goes the warrior again. Now they're like, well, we've updated, we've changed them. And so I guess a question I have for you guys is like, given the Trinity, what we all know about the Trinity, what could possibly they have changed? I mean, we don't even know about what they really had.
You kind of stole my question, because I was going to sort of ask the same question and say like, hey, this is total like, tinfoil hatting it, not being in the beta, not playing it. But my question is sort of going to be on the same thing. Is, do you think that the changes are going to be so big that beta testers from the previous beta test version coming into the new one are going to like almost feel like it's a new game?
I feel like especially with the way that they were talking about wanting to revamp progression systems, like okay, got it. But with the way that they were talking about revamping progression systems, getting some sort of like talent web or whatever they were talking about, we still don't know details about this stuff, which I'm hoping we're going to get with these live streams. Ability tiers, all of these things, like there are so many systems that they're adding on to change the way that the classes play, how abilities interact with one another. That I think definitely they are going to, beta testers, anyone who is in the other one, they're going to have to like pretty much start fresh and come in with clear eyes. And a lot of them who don't are going to be probably like a little bit surprised. They're like, okay, this was this before. What happened?
I mean, I think the clear thing that they're going to definitely have put in there without knowing every single thing about the way that they were, other than the stuff that we've played before, is balance. That's got to be the biggest thing that they've added, if not for just the PvP, but just probably also for PvE, like raiding and leveling. They've probably had enough time, hopefully, to figure out, hey, in a raid, given X, Y, and Z, DPSers can't mitigate any damage because that's really not what their job is, but normally they need to collect mobs or something, and kill mobs. There's got to be something that they've done to optimize the classes, but I think it's also probably balancing the classes is probably the big thing, right?
Absolutely. And like everybody's gonna win here. I mean, I think you're gonna expect like new web pages being deployed, videos. Have they confirmed that we're gonna actually see some? Are we getting these new videos on classes this Wednesday for the? Is that? Do we know any of that?
I think so, and then they're gonna play with them on the live stream on Saturday.
Right. So now you're getting these like live streams and stuff like this. So Q&As, interviews, web pages, videos. And then we'll hear about the medic and the engineer for the first time ever in the history of ever.
The first time officially, right?
Officially.
Well,
what class?
okay, so,
what class are you guys most excited about?
We have heard like the name medic and engineer, like just little bits of it, but we don't actually know anything about how they play, about how they might be different from the other classes, and so forth. So,
do we?
Wait for it. I can't find it. Sorry, I don't have it. Wait, I might have it. Or do we? Yeah, I don't know. We don't know how they're going to play. I mean, are you expecting some kind of like out of the norm style on the two classes, on the engineer and the medic, Farhan?
So again, like, whatever we heard before, who knows how accurate it is now, but I remember that there was a dev quote back then, I don't even remember exactly when, but talking about heals and sort of, okay, so the, Felsinger and Esper, are current healers, and then presumably the medic, although, wouldn't that be like a twist if they made the engineer the healer and the medic the tank of the new classes? Wouldn't that just like blow your mind completely? But yeah, I doubt it.
We're smoking wacky tobacco, Farhan. What are you doing over there? You just Farhan. Crazy. Talking craziness.
But there was that quote back then that they were talking about one of the healers being much more like freeform targeting, like telegraph heals than the other two. And so I'm actually more excited for that because I really want to get to the point where I'm playing without ever clicking on a unit frame or clicking on the player. Like that's one of the things I'm looking forward to most in WildStar, because when I'm playing other MMOs, I'm getting really, really sick of it, like trying to click on them and like there's telegraphs.
What do you normally play? Do you normally play healer?
Lately, I've actually been playing tank a lot more, but I like playing healer a lot. And when I play heals and I have like the little grid or whatever unit bars everywhere, then it's just annoying. I don't like it at all. I like being able to actually look at what's going on in the environment, wherever you want.
What do you usually play, Mark?
I'm usually a tank for raids as a guild leader. That tends to be the. I'm a typecast.
I'm the meat shield. I gotta just go into the fray and lead the troops.
I like tanking, but what I dislike about tanking is that I never get a good view of what's actually going on in the raid encounter. Because you got the big boss like up in your face the whole time, and so that's why I go with heals, because I can see everything. That's my goal.
I'm usually looking at the jock the groin of the boss the entire fight. That or his kneecaps, depending on how big the boss is, you know. So I'm like, all right, everyone go left. All right, heals, more heals, damn you.
So the class reveals are going to lead up to what they're saying, one big moment coming in December. What do you guys think this big moment is going to be? What do you think, Mark? What do you think the big moment will be?
I'm hoping it's like launch day release, you know.
You think they're actually going to have a launch date? Is that what
so
the
they've
moment?
Already said that, you know, we know that
Before
winter is
even
coming.
winter beta?
The beta. So I don't think it's, I mean, maybe it's the beta, but I'm thinking they've already released that. We already know that it's coming in December. It's on their site. So I'm thinking that hopefully that's the time that they're going to tell us when the game's going to launch. And
wouldn't that be risky though? Like
the only reason why I think that it's important that they do it then is because December, and somebody from chat room or in the show work with me here. If we're in if we're in winter in December, right? How much farther is spring away from December? Like 3-4 months, something like that?
Yeah, about.
So that's not a whole lot of time from a beta, because the beta that they're having in December is not open beta.
That's what I was saying. Well, what if that's the big announcement? What if the big moment is open beta?
I mean, they might announce it, but, you know, it's got to be either open beta or launch day, because I guess where I'm going with that whole pattern logic is it's not a whole lot of time to launch. You know, 4 to 5 months, that goes like that when you're talking about getting your game out to release, because you got to still do the beta, you got to do the closed beta, the open beta, and then you've got to take all that information, figure out what came out of the beta, and then actually code and fix and polish, and then you got to start your supply chain management, your logistics, your marketing. You got a gold disc. You got and yes, I know it's going to be 2014. So how many people are going to actually buy a physical disc? But you know they're going to have collector's editions.
They're going to do it anyway.
Yeah,
they're going to buy it.
They're going to do it so that you can get your, you know, there goes your collector's edition spray can of air that has Granok on it, and people are going to want this for $35.95, you know, whatever.
I don't know. The more you actually talk about it, the more I'm kind of going to lean towards you. I think it's probably going to be a launch date. I think you're right, because a really big moment in December, open beta. That's like open beta is a big moment for people watching this show and like the hardcore, but that's not a big moment for the world. Big moment for the world is like, hey, you're going to launch, right?
Yeah, and the other reason too, on top of that, is there's no other cons between release other than PAX East, which, you know, I'll be at. But the point is if you're expecting to announce launch at PAX East, you're screwed, you know, because at this point they're playing chicken with Elder Scrolls Online, right? Whichever one of those two launches first is going to get hella subscriptions. You know what I mean? That's just the bottom line.
What do you think, Farhan? You think you're going to go with it? What do you think?
I don't know. Like, Mark's been very convincing here, so maybe, you know, I'm leaning towards it a little bit now, but, you know, I'm still skeptical just because, you know, they've got so many new systems in this thing now. You gotta beta test it, like, significantly. And 2 new classes, like, you know, 1/3 of the classes haven't been beta tested yet. That's significant.
Or have they?
So,
Ooh.
well, I mean, you know, I was waiting for it. We gotta get through the dramatic hamster, and then now we can, you know, get to it.
It's a squirrel. It's a gopher, actually. It's a gopher.
Squirrel. Okay.
It's a gopher.
Dramatic gopher? All right.
It
doesn't sound quite as interesting then, but all right.
Dramatic gopher?
So,
all right. Squirrel.
So topic changer, like, do you not agree that they're playing chicken with ESO? Because I don't know any other MMO that's coming up, because the EQ Next is, what, 2-3 years away? I mean, it looks like an interesting game, but I just see it being really far away. So I think that it's going to be, 2014 is going to be the year of WildStar and Elder Scrolls, or one or the other. You know what I mean? I just can't imagine them both. Is there enough space in the market? Sure. But I think they're just playing chicken to see who can come out first.
You know, you're convincing me a lot here, but see, I'm still going to hold through with the fact that I think that it's actually going to be, like what I'm really hoping for is that with the beta, that the announcement is going to be like a dropping of the NDA on beta or something like that. So that the beta is still going, but then there's a lot more openness with the thing, because that's sort of been Carbine's MO, right? They every single beta, like how do I know that they haven't been testing the other classes? Well, because they've been given patch notes, right? All of this stuff has been trying to get ahead of leakers and being like, okay, we know leakers are going to happen, leaks are going to happen, so let's just get ahead of it. Let's do our own PR. Let's get the information out there on our own. And so what I'm hoping, maybe the big thing is that some sort of dropping of the NDA, or like slight less restrictions on NDA. Maybe there's going to be like some sort of events with fan sites, maybe some other kind of thing where they just let a little bit more information about what's going on in the beta get out there.
This is totally counterintuitive, but they essentially turned the leakers into their PR firm.
It's a way to do it. Let's do a completely, this is a foolproof scientific study right here. So maybe somebody could turn this into a case study and send this off to Carbine, because it's totally legit. Everyone in the chat room, 1, if you're planning on playing WildStar. 2, if you're planning on playing ESO. 3, if you're planning on playing or trying them both in 2014. So this is completely legit. This is absolutely scientific. This is foolproof, and just, yeah. So we'll come back to that. I want to talk about the beta. First, I want to tell you guys about Shutterstock. I want to save you guys 25% off on your account. That's right. If you guys have not checked out Shutterstock, if you have a website, a YouTube page, you do any kind of media, or like a guild website, anything on the internet, I'm telling you, you have to check out Shutterstock.com. We use Shutterstock every single day at Gamebreaker. I found, we're working on that Gamebreaker Nation side. I want to show you these. Look at this art. I mean, again, like, look how cool this guy's stuff, or girl, I don't know, male, female, but this artist's stuff is. Look how, that's an awesome piece of artwork. Like, I can't imagine how many hours that must have taken this person to actually create. And this comes in a vector format, so you can actually take it and break it off of that parchment paper that's kind of just there for an effect. I started looking at this artist's other stuff, and there's a bunch of these. You might see some of these pop up in different things on the GameBreakerNation.com website, because I love this artist's stuff. Slava Gurge is actually the name of the artist on this whole set, and there's a whole bunch of them. Look how great that is.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Can you blow that up?
Yes, I can on here, but if I were to download it, if I purchase it and download it, this is, let me see, where is it here? Well, actually, this is a JPEG. I'm sorry. No, this one's actually a JPEG. This is not in vector format, but it comes at a resolution of 4,000 by 4,798. So I don't think you're going to be making anything quite larger than that. That's 4K. You could put that into a 4K movie and it would still look good. So he created this at a really high resolution. That stuff is awesome. This art is, I'm saving this stuff to this samurai helmet's great. And again, if you have a guild website or something like that, you take this stuff and you could easily manipulate that, put it on your guild website and things like that. It would look awesome. To commission an artist to do that for you would just be incredible. I can't imagine how much they would charge. But I wanted to save you guys 25% off. All you got to do is go over, make a free account on Shutterstock, and you don't even need a credit card or anything like that to get started. You can start searching today for all kinds of artwork, vectors, video, photos, footage. There's stock footage as well, and saving them to light boxes. And when you're ready to make a purchase, all you got to do is make sure to use the promo code GameBreaker11. It's a new code for the month, GameBreaker11. You will immediately save 25% off on your Shutterstock account. Support Gamebreaker by supporting our sponsors, and we love having Shutterstock on as a sponsor to make this show and all the others here at Gamebreaker possible. All right, so beta news. We've now know that lots of invites will be going out this winter. So it's not open beta, like we mentioned before. Not open beta. Will be still closed. Nothing is guaranteed, but we're hearing it sounds like a really large push. Hopefully a lot of you watching the show, more importantly me, will get in. They're also sending out a survey. For us to fill in. Is that increasing your chances to get in? Did you guys get this?
I think they said that it would increase your chance, because I did get the email. they didn't say that you're in, but it will increase your chances, definitely.
Yep.
Whatever the heck that means. Whatever
that
metric
means.
they're using.
Basically, what they've said is that they're going to prioritize people who have done the survey and an application, as opposed to just only doing the application. And if you just do the survey without an application, I think, yeah, you're a little bit wrong there. Just do both, and then you'll be set. And for anyone who signed up for beta like quite a while ago, and like back when they had the beta sign up directly on their own website in their own form, they have a sort of a new setup with NCSoft, so you probably would want to actually sign up for beta again. It'll tell you like if they already have your email address listed in their account, so you don't have to worry about them like getting pissed off at you about signing up too many times or something. As long as you keep the information the same, that their system will be like, hey, you've already signed up, no big deal, kind of thing.
So let me make my dick comment real quick. So if you got an email from Carbine, that probably means they know about you some kind of way. They wouldn't just randomly send out an email to some asshole. They're going to send an email to the people that signed up before.
So there's a fair number of people who actually found the survey stuff from the Twitter, because like people were talking about it on Twitter and be like, oh, is this legit? Is this like a fake thing or whatever? And what they've said is even if you haven't actually gotten the survey link yet in an email or whatever, you can still do it. It'll be fine. So.
Right, but I guess all I'm trying to say is that if they emailed you and you haven't seen it on Twitter or any social media, that means that you had to have already filled out an application before, which means you're probably on a shorter list. So by them reaching out to you reaching back, obviously I can't promise anything because the only thing I run around here is my mouth, but my point is that's got to be a good feeling, right?
They've got you covered. And you can actually, that's the more football. So you can actually go, which is a little, I don't want to say sketchier, but you want to make sure that they have your information. But you can actually go directly to surveymonkey.com / what is it?
/s/ws/winter
winter beta. Yes, you can actually get there directly. But again, your best bet's going to be that if you got the email, because then at least you know that they're like hopefully linking your survey with your official beta sign up, which hopefully increases your chances of getting in, if that made any sense whatsoever. I don't know, the usual questions about
thing.
I didn't go back. Wait, I didn't get to go back to my I was doing my the Shutterstock ad. What did chat room think of? What was the consensus of our survey here?
It was one overwhelmingly.
It was overwhelmingly one. Not surprisingly,
there
we are
might have
doing a
been
WildStar
A2,
show.
Maybe there was no, there wasn't. No twos.
No twos. All right, so preaching to the converted. The usual questions about playstyle, hardware, and previous games or beta experience came up on that survey. Did you guys tell the truth? Did you tell the truth? July. You lied. Mark lied.
I always put down whenever I fill out surveys or apply to betas that I'm a female, and I always put down that I've played like all kinds of other games, even though I've actually beta tested almost every modern MMO that you can think of. Whether I've ended up buying them or not, I actually have across almost 20 years. But if you put down that you're female, you normally get selected because there are so few female gamers in MMOs that they normally want them. So that's a little trick if you don't know that.
Mark Taylor's theme music.
Although I'm getting trolled in chat by Dingleberry.
He's trolling you. How many people in the press faked their sign-ins? Fake email, fake name. Press got
Oh, that's the default. If you work for like ZAM or PC Gamer, you better have a Gmail account on the down low.
I love the way you just called out ZAM. Just like boom, just calling up their spot. No, nothing to do with this shit. Those guys do it all the time out here.
Well, for Gamebreaker, they actually ask you to beta test their stuff. Come on, it's a difference.
Yeah, look. I'm still holding my breath. And of course, everybody who fills out a survey, I've beta tested hundreds and hundreds of hours of every game that's ever come out since Meridian 59. Yes, I've got all the DX files to prove it. What are those files? What's that thing again? Your DX. I don't know what that thing is. Whatever.
Econ, WildStar, Econ PvPers like hating on me. I'm not hating on Zam and Rez.
We love Zam.
I thought we were boys. I thought we were tight, man. What's up?
Told you. Mark's the music. One more interesting tidbit here. A few shows ago, Carbine was talking about the types of instance content. But where we expected Shiphands, they just wrote redacted. We thought maybe it was something new, or maybe they were changing some sort of name. We weren't really sure. Stephen Frost, or Stephen Frost, I should say, just put out a Vine. That's a little app, 6 seconds, on your. Apparently 6 seconds was all it needed. I don't know what that means, but it looks like we've still got Shiphands at least. Did you guys check this out? I don't know.
Yeah, the Shiphands line is actually.
Can you show it, or do you have? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't have it.
Okay.
It'd be good if I had it, but I don't have it.
The Shiphands Vine has actually been like one of the more interesting ones. Like if you're not following Stephen Frost's Twitter, then just do it, because like you don't have time to watch an 8 second or 6 second or whatever it is Vine, and you gotta get these little tiny glimpses, and it's just enough to like send the really hardcore WildStar fans into like this frenzy of like, oh my god, do you see that? Like, to be fair, the Shiphands one's actually sort of interesting. Because, like, let me ask you guys this. What games have you played, MMOs, have you played that had, like, an underwater or some sort of, like, non-gravity, like, gameplay?
And one tour, I'll tell you that. You couldn't swim.
I hate underwater. I hate all underwater combat.
Right.
Sucks.
But which ones have you played?
Guild Wars 2 had a great
Guild Wars,
underwater
wow.
game.
I mean, almost all of them.
Right. Now, which of them actually had you changing your axis so that you didn't just have up is up and down is down? Like, set.
I don't know. I avoid water
because,
like
your
a plague.
camera is always such that, like, you always, like, there's an obvious up and there's an obvious down without it actually. But in the Shiphand video, he's tilted because he's out in space, like, in the thing, he's, like, controlling a robot, and it's tilted. And it's just like, wait, they can. I mean, that's like it sounds like a little thing, but it's just like, oh, that means that as you're navigating through their zero gravity part, like, you're controlling like a robot or something.
You're gonna have like yaw? Like, is it almost gonna be like a helicopter with like a yaw ability?
Well, it's like you could do
yaw.
a barrel roll. You can do a barrel roll in WildStar. Confirmed.
You could do a barrel roll in WildStar. Nice.
So yeah,
and that just threw the WildStar hardcore peeps just into a complete frenzy.
Well, like, there was that. There was also like a thing where like, so he's like controlling this little. You only have like 2 seconds of the actual part where you're seeing the gameplay, but he like hits this little like floating block or whatever, and then the block has like gravity and physics and collision, and it like bounces off in like a certain angle, and so like people are like, oh my god, they got like a physics engine going on in there. They have like tilting. They have barrel rolls. They got all this kind of stuff in there. And that's like from like 3 seconds, so who knows exactly how it's gonna work. But hey, that's what you get when you get little vines.
I think we just got the name of the episode. WildStar. You can even do a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll. What's that from?
What do you guys think about the instance content though? Like, do you think? I mean, there seems to be a ton of instance content already in WildStar. Do you think that there's like room for more that we still don't know about?
I mean, that's the great thing about instance. I mean, they can always create it and it doesn't impact everything else, right? So they could create as much crap as they want. Although, I mean, with what they've got right now, it seems pretty aggressive and it seems like it's going to meet all the needs. The biggest thing, too, though, is going to be the quantity of the instances. So I was speaking to somebody earlier today. A lot of MMOs kind of fail because they've only got like 3 raids at launch or, a very small amount of endgame. I think that the premise is everyone says that they want a really, really hard challenging raid, a really, really hard challenging end game. And I guess to map it back to what you're saying, I don't know that that's really the case. Look at Final Fantasy. They've got like Bahamut and a couple of like the Crystal Tower or whatever, and they've got these really, really like Mission Impossible raids. But people are starting to filter out of that game because that crap is so hard. I think rather, instead of just saying that you've got 2 Mission Impossible raids that are just so hard. I think rather put maybe 5, 10, 15 raids that are like, challenging, but they're just fun to do, because I guarantee you, if you've got 10, 20, thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of paying customers, the social experience they want to have is the fact that they accomplished something. They finished something together as a team, as opposed to they just got their ass kicked for months and months and months, and then one day the stars aligned and everybody paid attention and they won it.
So you're going the quantity route, though, but that's so hard to say. You're like, I just want more. Give me like 10 or 15 of them and make them okay. And then
just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's quality. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Just because it's ridiculously hard.
No, that's fair enough. But again, would you rather have two really, really well done raids, which were hard, challenging, and just extremely well done, and you'd love them, or would you rather get 10 that you were like, well, they were okay?
I guess to qualify my point, make 10 or 15 good raids. Don't make 2 impossible.
Mark
raids.
just wants it all. He wants it. I want 10, I want 15 amazing. Quantity. I want quality and I want quantity. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just trying to say it's easy to make a hard raid, because you can make something where the timer on the boss is ridiculous. I mean, look at Tor. That's all they did. Every single raid was the same. Whether it was Romeo and Juliet, whether it was Tank and Spank, whether it was multiple things going on, time and event. At the end of the day, every single one of their raids had a timer. In which case the boss would enrage. I remember playing Dark Age of Camelot because I did not play WoW. I remember playing Dark Age of Camelot, spending like 5 months with my guild trying to clear one dungeon, and that would be okay because the raids were fun enough and they were long enough, because they had enough bosses in them. But some of the bosses did not have enrage timers, so you could be on one boss for 2 hours for the same raid without wiping, and you could do what J.R.R. Tolkien used to call a eucatastrophe, the opposite of a catastrophe. I have been on raids where we were with a 24-man raid where we were whittled down to 3 people, and I was one of them. And as a conqueror, I had the ability to res. So over time, over a 30 to 40-minute period, having a friggin' tank kite the boss around for 5 minutes at a time around a pillar, slowly res the raid team back enough so that we could eventually get enough people to kill him. There is no raid that will ever be as epic as that. There will be very few, and I hope to God that WildStar has that experience. But there's been no raid ever that has ever matched that epicness of that, because we came back from the brink, and it wasn't just ended because we didn't kill the boss in 5 minutes or we didn't kill him in 7 minutes.
See, now if Jason Winter was here, he'd be like, that's why they don't make those games anymore, because nobody plays those games, Mr. Martell. Nobody cares.
and
there's a reason they don't. There's a reason they don't make those games anymore.
WoW brought so much to the space. WoW did so many good things for the MMO. However, WoW lost and did not do a lot of basic things in MMOs that were around for a long time before WoW was around. WoW's done a lot. WoW did a lot of great things, but WoW didn't do a lot of basic things that people who played other MMOs before WoW know about. So when you talk to these teens and these 20-somethings, they're like, "Well, I played WoW." Well, there were a lot of other MMOs that were good before
Kids,
WoW.
get off my lawn! My name is Mark Taylor. Get off my lawn, kid! Back in the day with the old school MMOs.
I mean, the whole time, the thing that people are freaking out about that they like about WildStar is they're going about housing. EQ had housing a long time, and so did STBG and so did.
So why don't you go play EQ? It's still around.
Because I can play WildStar. It's coming out. It's new. But you see what I'm trying to say? That's a simple, basic game mechanic that existed. There are plenty of other separate, different, good mechanics.
You want to play old school grumpy? You want to play old school grumpy old gamer? Go watch that Shroud of the Avatar Richard Garriott video he put out this week. Talk about making an MMO for like 40-something-year-olds. Like, it's like, we are doing nothing different except making UO again.
Well,
I'm in
my 40s, so that would map.
Be right up your alley.
I feel like every raider who has raided for long enough has an experience like that, though. Like, regardless of game mechanics, regardless of anything else, just the social nature of a game where you're with that many other players, and eventually you're going to have a time where you just squeak it out and it feels amazing and so forth. So every single raider has that, experience in some way. Now, like, I don't know if that kind of thing would ever happen in WildStar just because of all the other kinds of limitations that, aren't in most modern MMOs, like games. I mean, we don't know exactly how WildStar's res system works, for example, but I sort of, like, who knows whether combat reses are going to be limited or not, or so forth. But if they are, then, that kind of thing, it's really hard because, like, if you're demanding something for multiple hours of every single player, where it also has to do with tuning, right? WildStar's hardcore raids are supposed to be like I think the idea behind it is that they tune really, really tightly, right? Not so much that it's just like, okay, it's hard, but you just got to throw yourself at it until, like, sort of things start to work out pretty well. Or like you were saying, where, like, okay, the stars aligned and everyone paid attention finally, kind of thing. It's just that, okay, it's tuned really tightly, and that implies to me, yeah, something like an enrage timer a lot. Maybe, hopefully not on every fight. That's like the focus of it, because you can have fights that have that as like a backup just to make sure you don't bring in, half of your raid as healers and almost no DPS or something. That's the whole point of the range timer.
Yeah, but the problem is I don't mind a boss with a rage and timer or enrage timer. The problem is stop making every fight have an enrage timer. I love the fact. How do you make it
hard for DPS? How do you make it hard for DPS without?
Can you outlast? Can you overcome? See, the problem that the enrage timer presents is it does not give you the ability to overcome catastrophe. It's either you work really well within the time or you don't. It's binary. If you allow a longer period of time without an enrage timer, then guess what? Over time, you can res your people and you can come back from the brink. Think about this. If you build all of your raids predicated on the fact that it's just fucking hard, how does that build any kind of continuity? Yes, over time, your team might be able to build and they might be able to overcome, but you should build your raids where people over time can be successful. You build in opportunities for them to do things together. I guarantee you, if you take a group, 10 groups of 10 people and you give them challenges, and you give them challenges that they can overcome. They're challenging, but they're not so friggin' hard that they've got to be world-class raiders to overcome it. That will bring them together, and that will create instances of fun. People where you create the raid where it is like Mission Impossible, yes, they are elite. However, you've created another job. I'm married. I got 2 kids. I got a full-time job. I got a life. I have no desire to be world first of anything. The only thing I want to be known for is having a guild that's got the most fun. So present raids that are challenging that we can do. And, if you want to make a hard mode of that, then do that. But I'm just trying to say, having your game predicated on, we've got the hardest raids ever. Who cares, asshole? Not me, because that breaks down guilds. That breaks down unit cohesion. Just kicking people in the nuts over and over and over. That's not my definition of fun. Giving me something that I can do with my friends, drinking some beers, hanging out, and accomplishing, that's fun. If you have a group that's had 10 successful raids over and over, they're going to tell you they had fun. If you have a group that just said, we did one raid for 7 months until we accomplished it, guarantee you their fun level's low.
It's a balancing act,
Of course it's a balancing act, and I'm trying to communicate to you that I think developers have misunderstood, raid teams and guilds. Several guilds have dissolved because they can't ever accomplish X or they're bored and they just stop.
Well, so, I mean, to take it back to what we know about what's going on with WildStar, and I know that a lot of this is sort of almost wall of crazy kind of stuff because it's like a Jeremy Gaffney quote, and so who knows exactly where that's going to end up going because he has stuff like the Million Idiot March and other stuff like that. But with the idea of with the idea of weekly changing raids, like something where like, okay, this week it's a little bit easier, this week it's a little bit harder, would that make you feel like okay, so you had like a tightly tuned thing that is more for the really hardcore guilds, and then you got like this weekly thing where okay, now it's randomized so that it's a little bit more forgiving or whatever. Would that do anything for you, or is that not
I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't mind a hard raid. I don't mind a very hard raid. I don't mind doing raids on hard mode. All I'm trying to say is when you just make like Final Fantasy, I think this example with Bahamut and some of the other things, when you make the raids that are just so hard and you make them complete gear checks, that's breaking continuity, man. That's breaking teamwork. You got to have something that people can go into. Like, I remember a day like where you went to raids to get your raid gear. What the hell is this? I make it to max level, now I gotta grind just so I can start raiding. I think that's a broken system. I think you go into raids, you get kicked in your nuts for a couple of weeks until you get some drops, and then you raid with your friends. And I think, yeah, it should be challenging. Challenging and hard are not the same. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like if you say, hey Mark, go run 5 miles, all right, I'll be sucking wind, but I can do it. If you say, Mark, go run a marathon, well, now that's hard. You see what I'm trying to say?
Right, hard.
And I might not make it. Get it? I might not make it. I might not make it. Rather, give me something that's challenging that I can do with my friends, that I can feel like I accomplished things, that I can feel like we did things. Because at the end of the day, groups of people want to be uplifted, and they want to feel like they did something. They don't want to repeatedly go get kicked in the balls. Now, that's all I'm trying to say.
What my hope is with WildStar system, and I mean, like, I could be totally off base here because we don't know enough about how all the systems will interact especially at Elder Game. We just know bits and pieces of stuff. But if they have stuff like the ability to do a rich, item customization kind of thing, where you can customize your item and try to improve it and get a little bit more, basically power without necessarily having beaten a new boss kind of thing. Just over time, you sort of improve your item. Like, what did they mention at the last live stream? They talked about item challenges, where you get an item and you power it up by doing some sort of challenging or, it's almost like an achievement tied to an item. And when you hit that achievement, then your item powers up kind of thing. So you got stuff like that. You have action combat, which what I'm hoping is that maybe that relieves a little bit of the pressure of, okay, just having to have like basically a certain number of stats on your gear and not being able to make up for it. Because again, this is all about tuning, right? How tightly is it tuned? Do you have to have a completely optimal gear, or is it like 80% optimal gear and then you make up for that with skill kind of thing? And so just all those kinds of things, hopefully you can tie in together and sort of get to a point where, okay, it does go from being hard, where it's just about, okay, 0.1% of the population, this is tuned to be for them to be able to beat. That is hard, right? Where versus challenging is, okay, this is something that you can progress on. This is something that you can get to a point where you can beat it. And I get that what you're going for is you want that kind of experience that you just described, right? Sorry. Where basically I'm going all over the place, right? You want the kind of experience that you described where you feel like you're getting a clutch win out of it more often. Like you feel like as a guild you accomplish something much more often. And with something like Action Combat, you're a little bit more tied into the game. You're a little bit more into it. And with 40 people in there, you got more of a social dynamic in there than you would with a smaller raid size. Hopefully that kind of thing can happen. I don't see them going back to like really, really long fights just because that isn't in vogue, these days. That kind of thing.
This is Sparta! But hey, Farhan, we'll wrap it up because we're going long. But you're going to be raiding with us, right?
Yes. That's what we traded, right? I'm going to be your consultant.
You're going to help build apps, and we'll even put the Gamebreaker logo on it, and you can raid, with us. We'll even try to get Gary in there if he is going to come out. But long story short, WoW did so many amazing things for the game space, and I completely respect that. All I'm trying to say is there are certain things that they left out or they didn't find that was important. And some of the things that they did with their raids, again, a lot of them were really great and moved things forward. However, just the very simple fact that they put timers on everything, that's not necessarily a good thing, is all I'm trying to say, because some fights don't need that. If you artificially put in this mechanism, which means I gotta finish this raid, this specific boss within this time, you've broken something, and you've broken unit cohesion.
I do agree that I think that they went a little bit far with the amount of enrage timers that are prevalent everywhere. It's just that, when you have the proportions that they have in WoW, like I think 17 or something out of 25 DPS raiders are DPS, right? And so what they wanted is they wanted to have more incentive for you to actually optimize. You want it to actually like be really up to par with your rotation, trying to pump out that damage. And that's how they balance it, was with enrage timers. Now, if they can back away from that a bit and sort of move some of that towards action combat, towards like execution instead of just pushing buttons on your rotation, then I think that'd be a lot happier. I think that it wouldn't feel as gamey, right? Got music everywhere.
All right. Sorry, Gary. We've completely hijacked your show today.
Oh, I was enjoying it. It's a lovely concerto. Don't you agree?
We're good now.
I'm calm.
Just getting all the demons out. Just get it all out. Get it out. Get it out. All right, let's do some viewer questions. Speaking of getting out, do some viewer questions to get the F out of here. This week's questions are sponsored by Audible. Go over to audible.com/gamebreaker to receive a free, yes, I said free 30-day trial and to receive a free audio book. It's not WildStar, but it's sci-fi. How about some Star Wars? They got some great Star Wars on Audible. Check this out. It's a good one.
Roar in from behind them. Cutting tight to the Chimera's command superstructure, they passed over the forward ridgeline, raking it with low-power blaster fire, then split smoothly out in 8 different directions. Corkscrewing out and forward, they kept up their fire until they were out of the Star Destroyer's primary attack zone. Then, curving smoothly around, they swung around and regrouped.
I love the ship sound effects in the background. Check it out. That is Star Wars Spectre of the Past, The Hand of Thrawn, Book 1 by Timothy Zahn. You could be downloading that today as your free book just by going over to audible.com/gamebreaker, make an account, sign up today, download the app, put it on your iOS device, your iPhone, your Android, whatever you got, and you will be able to download one free book just by using the URL audible.com/gamebreaker. Support Gamebreaker by supporting our sponsors, Audible. Thank you so much. All right. First question this week from Wesley Rowland. Wesley says, in an action combat game with real targeting and telegraphs, don't you think a hit stat is kind of lame? I don't want to line up the perfect telegraph and see a miss in my damage log. It just seems wrong. What do you think, Taylor?
I think that basically the telegraph is going to be one of the elements, and I'm not a programmer, so maybe Farhan could expand on this, is going to be one of the things that's going to be part of the programming language to make that hit stat, right? So if it lines up and your little telegraph is overlapping the tune that you're trying to kill, that's going to be the mechanism that, initiates whatever variable needs to be in the algorithm that's yes, you hit X, Y, and Z, right?
We're not sure exactly how the hit system's going to work. Whether it is going to be I lined up my telegraph, I got it, going on the enemy, and I hit it, and then it does a separate, dice roll kind of thing, okay, did you hit, what's your hit stat kind of thing. That's actually what I'm thinking it actually is, which is what the question's going to that sounds kind of lame, right? That you needed a hit stat after you actually successfully aimed your telegraph. Obviously, if you, misaim your telegraph, the hit stat's not going to do anything for you because, the system isn't even going to care. It's just going to be like, oh, you missed, whatever, I don't have to even check, right? But, I'm sort of inclined to agree that, having a hit stat just feels a little bit weak when you're actually manually aiming an ability. I think that it's almost a necessary evil just because it is, a very straightforward gameplay-related stat 4 damage dealers in raids, because again, that's what we know. Hit is going to be the way that they differentiate raiding gear from PvP or solo gear, or small group gear kind of thing. So, you need more hit in order to hit the raid bosses, but you wouldn't necessarily need it in the other kinds of content. So,
all right, next up,
yeah.
this one from Louis Lange. What kind of microtransactions do you see yourselves actually spending money on? Do you care about cosmetic armor, mounts, extra bag stuff? Or do you flat out refuse to spend money past your sub?
Cred.
Taylor's all about spending money in game.
Give me
Cred.
my gold.
If I
Swords,
just say no, then
blasters.
Can I go back to the other question?
Sure.
All right, no, and then back to the other question, like for kind of thing. That's what I want to talk about. Damn it. All right. So I just want to say like one quick thing though, because I saw this a lot on Reddit about this like thread, and people were sort of saying that like, why do we need all these other stats? Like I like a lot of people are saying like, oh, you need it for diversity in stats or something, but why do you need that? Like it's just be simpler, have similar stats. And the reason for that is that it gives you granularity. Like it makes it so that you can have at the same item level, you can have an upgrade. All right, I'm done.
No, go. I'm listening. No, hang on. I'm good.
So basically, if you have a lot of, secondary stats on gear, and maybe one of them's better for you than another one, at the same item level, if you find an item that has the set that you like more, then you can still get an upgrade, even though you haven't moved on to a new tier, you haven't moved on to a new higher item level for your gear. And that's actually really important because otherwise you'd get one item for every single gear slot and you'd be done. And so that would just sort of completely just give the incentive for you to actually keep raiding, at least from an item standpoint. I was wondering what's coming. What is coming?
I kind of look like Gaffney. Maybe I'm like Jeremy Gaffney right now. Look at me.
Yeah, you do. You can't see the top right, but yeah. Nice.
Nice. That's one of your soundproofing foams from the wall, isn't it?
Yeah, just sitting right over here. Yeah. All right. Well, before we do our last question, Gamebreaker Nation t-shirts are in. Gamebreaker Nation t-shirt. GameBreakerNation.com.
So we're going to be creating a Gamebreaker Nation circle for day one of getting into the game, and that'll be one of the, I guess, alliance of alliances that we'll try to get set up.
Better get in there now. Get on the Gamebreaker Nation Mumble. Start talking. You got to start making friends. I don't know. You see if they're going to let you in. It's pretty deep already. All right. Last question. Faith McLean. Do telegraphs make any kind of lag way more devastating than it usually would be? 40-man raids and the insane 40v40 war plots are probably my biggest concern there.
No. You will only see your own telegraph, the enemy telegraphs, and healer telegraphs that have something good for you. Other than that, it's not going to be a disco show.
So it's all local.
Unless you're going and fighting a disco-themed boss.
Right, that's exactly what they said. But, yeah. I actually think that this question was coming up from the other point. Not so much like, will telegraphs make you lag, but will lag hurt your ability to land telegraphs or get out of telegraphs, which I think it will. Because, like, if they are expecting you, okay, thing on the ground, you can get out of it because it's really clear, and so they don't have to, like, they can take off the kitty gloves as far as, oh, I was sort of out of it, nope, there was a thing on the ground, you should have been able to get out of it. And if you have lag, then that could actually hurt you pretty badly.
Lag is going to hurt your ability to walk forward. Come on.
Right,
That's
but it's a matter of tuning.
Will lag hurt you? Yes, lag will hurt you. Lag will hurt you opening up your inventory. Lag will hurt you opening up your character sheet. Lag will hurt you. Come on.
That's how it's going to be.
It is. I'm sorry. That's just. I hate to. I don't want to be a PP head, but I'm just trying to say. Will lag hurt you? Yes, lag will hurt you. Sorry.
I mean, so let me put it this way, because like you played Final Fantasy recently, When you get out of a telegraph and it hits you anyway, aren't you really, really pissed off? Because that was pissing me off a lot in Final Fantasy.
I'm more pissed off on the fact that I'm on turn-based attacks, but whatever.
Just dodge the question. All right.
I'm ready for politics, son.
Mark Taylor, follow him on the Twitter at Guild Umbra, and of course, right here on UDSP Mondays at 3PDT. Always a pleasure, sir. Farhan Siddiqui, follow him on Twitter at Unindel, UNINDEL, and right here as well.
Can I do a quick shout out? I have a guest article on WildStar Fans. Check it out.
Oh, there you go.
WildStar Fans is awesome.
It is.
Mike Joseph.
Check it out. Big shout outs.
Arrowwolf.
You can follow me at Gary again and follow Gamebreaker TV. Gamebreaker TV. You can come over to the show. We do live every Monday at 3. It's always a good time. And we'll be back more next week. If you have guys not have if you have not joined the Gamebreaker Nation, get on over to GamebreakerNation.com. Sign up, join the guild, get ready for WildStar. We got tons of people excited and ready for it. So there's plenty of other people playing other games right now while they're all waiting for WildStar. So get on in there, meet some new friends, play, and you'll be ready once WildStar launches with the GB. And have a great week, and we'll see you next week for some more UDSP.